Niakol, Chocopol, Yes Nare, Dédé des colons créancés, la chèvre broute là où ils sont tachés.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Bianca Collins. I'm the Curator of Public Programs for the Fowler Museum at UCLA. The Fowler Museum is thrilled to be welcoming visitors back to our galleries. But for now, we're continuing to offer our programs virtually. So thank you for joining us today or tonight, depending on where it is you're tuning in from around the world. The Fowler is proud to present today's program as part of our Lunch and Learn series, which offers easily digestible explorations of charismatic objects from around the world. We're so pleased that you joined us to chew on some sustenance and feed your mind and soul. Today, we are joined by Cameroonian art curator and critic Yves Chatap, who will offer a deeper dive into the history of photography and studio practice in Cameroon. Using a selection from 110 black and white portraits by Jacques Toussele, Joseph Chila, and Samuel Finlak, presented in Photo Cameroon, Studio Portraiture 1970 to 1990s, Chatap will discuss the relationship between football and masculinity, the social benefits of signaling when religious piety, and the meaning of textiles worn by the sitters. After the presentation, our curator of African arts, Erica P. Jones, will join you for an audience question and answer. Yves Chatap is a Cameroonian curator, publisher, and art critic based in Paris, France. He served as a guest curator for the Treignac Project in 2011, Savvy Contemporary in Berlin in 2013, and as associate curator for the 10th Bamako Biennale in 2015. He was also one of the curators for the Louis Roederer Discovery Award at Les Rencontres in 2019. Chatap is the 2021 guest curator for Jeu de Paume LAB. I'm going to try that again. Chatap is the 2021 guest curator for Jeu de Paume LAB. He is currently the artistic director of La Clairière de Boto, conceived around the work of Cameroonian writer Mongo Beti. Chatap received the ACASA Award for Curatorial Excellence in 2018 for the exhibition Regenerations. His writings are regularly published in magazines, exhibition catalogues, and artist monographs. Before we get going, 2 quick technical bits of housekeeping. Once the screen sharing begins, I encourage you to click View options at the top of your screen and select Side-by-Side mode, so the video feed doesn't cover any of the presentation. And if you have any questions during this program, please do submit them through the Q&A function found at the bottom of your Zoom screen. You can submit and upvote questions that you would like to be considered to be answered at the end of the program. All right, that's enough from me. Over to you, Yves.
Thank you, Bianca. Good morning, all. Thank you to the museum, the Fowler Museum, for the invitation, and I hope our participants will enjoy this food for eyes during their lunch. So I will start to introduce my conversation with few keys, because I think it's also important to know the context of the country we are speaking about. So you will see different dates, and the most important, it will help you also to understand during my presentation some reference to the Bamako War, for instance, and also this question of the golden age of studio photography in Cameroon. So next, we can maybe start this conversation about Cameroonian photography by giving you a general presentation of what is photography in Cameroon today, what was photography in Cameroon. So the photography was established in Cameroon from 1923 with the arrival of Georges Goethe from Sierra Leone, where photography was already in plant since 1870. This arrival of the first studio run by Africaine was made through the uninhibited appropriation of technique, and without being too subjected to the Western aesthetic of the time. The first studio were mostly developed mainly in big city like Douala and Yaoundé, two strategic territories of the colonial power also. So we can easily understand that the photographic image was first used by the colonial state as a tool for knowledge and monitoring of indigenous people population. And the post-colonial states will also use massively image to identify and control the citizen to that point that each year many and thousands of women, men, and children from different social conditions were forced to have their portrait taken to acquire official document like ID card, passport, or school cards. So during this state of campaign, this state campaign triggered the emergence of new center of photographic practice, particularly in the far north and in Buda and Konsamba in the grassfield. Jacques Toussele, Joseph Chila, sorry, and Samuel Finlak came from this region, as well as the images of this exhibition. So at the request of the state, photographers were traveled throughout the country. They went to the market, village, sometimes with a handmade camera and just fabrics, natural fabrics for the background. So, and they sometimes also played the role of forensic photographer or reporter for the army during the war, during the war, the Bamako War, between 1954 and 1964. So from the 80s, the need to belong to the new post-independent world was felt. People showed themselves at balls, weddings, baptisms. It was more festive, and the photographer were invited for the occasion. Sorry, this was this festive atmosphere were conducive to the photographer's business, because the only thing that count for the client was the fabulous pose to show their beauty, their last dress coming from Paris. So it also there that the photographer met his next client, who would come to the studio in order to document his descendant for prosperity or the dream of new adventure or trips. So photography became a symbol of a social success until the end of the 80s. The photography studio never stopped renewing itself, both by the efforts made for the staging and by an overflowing creativity of sometimes almost realistic sets in order to enhance mode interaction with the models. And the studio, they became this word that we say nyanga. I think it's bragging because of the influence also of Western magazines like Amina and Marie Claire, Elle magazine, but also of cinema. But before there are multiple efforts to reinvest, the studio fell into disuse due to the arrival of development laboratories offering poor quality color images in particular, and also the increased use of amateur photography and video will complete the 8th day of studio photography. So we can say that mid 90s, the middle class was less interested by having a photo studio, so they prefer to stop the use, the visit of these studios. And the studios became the place for the sorry, the studio became suddenly a place where fear appears because by part of the population, because they were convinced that image, and especially the photo studio, was an instrument of control and domination by an elite. So speaking about this control and domination by an elite, I would like you to go to see the two images. Next, please. Next, please. So, thank you. I would like to present you these two images who are really representative about of the identity card, and also the needs of this population just coming out of the colonization to exist publicly. So, these two images are from Toussele. I would like you to have a look at the at these two images, because they are very important, because they are representative of the way the photographer operated to make this image. So we have a natural background made impossible to apply with the principles of identity photography, most often dark in color. This background is also this background also add the technical intentions to focus the light on the model. Technically, the photographer was doing a half-length portrait, allowing him later at the printing stage to crop around the face, thus erasing all traces of a social and professional identity. And if you take a good look at the sitter, we will see that the smile is the same, still frozen and without any particular expression, thus confirming that it's only the reframing of the second. The one is the only reframing of the second. Note that in the half-length portrait, the client's postures allow the enhancement of her jewelry, which was the symbol of a new urbanized middle class, and she's aware of the role of appearance. But beyond this particular condition of realization, what seems really important to me to remember is the particular stature attribute to these images, and how this instrumentalization by political power has not been without consequences on perception by part of the population, that the photographic image is endowed with a capacity to standardize the representation of the body. And if we are speaking about the body, I would like to go to the next image, where we will speak about the body, but in the region of Adamawa, in the North Cameroon. And we will see that with the body, we can also perceive some religious code and Muslim religious and cultural code in these images. The first one is a man wearing a gandura, Joseph Chila here. This image from Joseph Chila transports us to the lifestyles of this region, where he practiced primarily. We cannot fundamental change that indicates the place occupied by the Muslim region in this region also. We can also see as an attempt to shape new aesthetic code in photographic shoot. If you observe this paint background, you can imagine that behind the sitter is the representation of Mecca because of the Kasbah. This fresco was undoubtedly installed in the village square because of the beaten ground, because the beaten earth, yeah. The aim of this paint canvas was undoubtedly to encourage believers to make the pilgrimage to Mecca in order to achieve religious and spiritual fulfillment. Yeah, we can see the painting's effort in its size ratio, if you look, and perspective to give the impression that the client was really at the heart of the Mecca. The man is wearing a gandora, and the gandora remains a luxurious dress, often akin to a tuxedo in Western culture. The heaviness of the fabrics used, the richness and of the embroidery, and also the sophistication of the pattern make the value of this outfit and show also the social power. But here, the absence of motive suggests the rather modest social level of the sitter. The far north is also known for its wealth in the term of cotton production, which could also justify the almost conquering attitude of the model, which here display a symbol of social success, of religious accomplishment by possible future trip in Mecca. In this same region of Adamawa, we have the next image, this group image of the three men with a woman. So next, please. Thank you. Also made by Joseph Chila. But what is something attacked me with this image is that usually being portrayed surrounded by friends or family should be should convey a positive sense of modernity. So there's few image, there's few information I have to give you. First, the fabric stretched as a background allow us to be sure that Joseph Chila, like many photographers of this time, traveled the region in search of potential clients. The wall of the earthen house is typically a construction in rural areas in Cameroon. In addition, latrines were quite often outside and isolated with by a sheet of paper, a sheet of metal, pardon, door to protect the privacy of those accessing them. So you can see that on the left of the image. The presence also of a wicker basket used to transport on your right to transport foil bought at the market, the tray on the ground, the window closed. All this information allow us to think that we are certainly in a private house. And also, I suppose that we are also at an event, the dowry of the woman. But I would like to contextualize this image. The location of the photo is Mayodale, a rural area in the province of Adamawa in northern. And the patriarchal system is omnipresent in this society, which not recognize any rights for women. But if we pay attention to the young woman's outfit, we see that on her skirt, the fabric introduced by colonizer, and which is now a symbol of African identity, represent a portrait of a woman. Can we see here the desire of this woman to break free with male domination? I'm asking that because during my research, when a woman buying that material, that outfit, that kind of outfit, it's also related to her own perception. So even if we cannot really say that it was a fabric specially conceived for the International Women's Day, this is also important to have in mind that the fabrics and the embroideries, the embroideries are also have also an importance for the one who is buying it. But I would also question the posture of the woman, like the sitter at the end of the to the left. Um, she has this sign of protest or even the discontent with the decision of something, maybe the idea that she doesn't want to marry with the one guy just near her who is raising his finger, like showing that he's present and is the one who took this women. But speaking about cultural and religious code, invite us naturally to speak about youth. Can we go to the next image, please? So I use this image because football was introduced to Cameroon at the same time as photography, thanks to George Goethe. So, and this sport today is this sport is the pride of Cameroon, thanks to the many experts of the national team in many international competitions. So, with the traveling photography, with this photographer have produced significant corpus documenting the lifestyle of this youth population. And this is constitute a visual richness that we must continue to explore and archive. With this image from Samuel Finlak, we discovered again this territory of the North. And what is revealing is the way in which young people have appropriated this sport since its introduction in their landscape. One can imagine that the photographer understood the urgency of documenting and archiving this new style and sports. And why sports? Why again? As I'm speaking about football, because this choice is also linked to the fact that throughout football, many young people can dream of social success. The Cameroonian team, les Lions Indomptables, such as Roger Mila, Omambik, Ernest Koundé, or Samuel Eto'o, remain benchmark of success track sport for a large part of this youth. But in this portrait of young players staring at the camera, Finlak shows us a form of vulnerability of this youth in the 80s. In this period of adolescence, youth must assert itself throughout its masculinity, and this requires physical exercise and also the burning of the mind. And in the end, this image raised the question of virility as a mean of ascent to any of social power. Another image that I also selected because of the atmosphere and the pose. Can we go to the next, please? Thank you. We see here that this image, with this image of Jacques Toussele, we see that the photographer in his daily practice is completely in conformity with what was done at the same time in West Africa. This image is indicative of the interest people had in photo studio in large cities. This man and these two children came here to stage themselves. In each studio had his own accessory, motorcycle, radio, guitar, art, to allow the model to invent a new identity during the shooting. The black and white pattern floor is typically of African studio of this period for me. But what will be the reason for the success of this motif? This is a question. What would be the reason for the success of this motif at the time in a large majority of studio in West Africa? So the Jack Photo Studio also testified to the social role of photography because it is the place where the model slips into his own subjectivity, appropriates his character, and finds deep inside his own identity in order to stand out from the group. This image also shows us the transformation of the photography studio into a place of icon making. This young generation, accustomed to the camera, really stage themselves. All the models seems to be in dialogue with the photographer and his lens. Their posture is very self-assured and almost defiant. The period of fear of the camera as a soul thief seems to have ended with this photo of Jacques Toussele because the character here come to embody the heroes of an adventure inspired certainly by Western movie, which were very trendy at the time in the movie theaters in Cameroon. So in this theatralization of the body, we also have the legacy and the memory. So if we move to the next image, we can also, this image is from Samuel Finlak. If we move to this image, we can see that the background there are an image of the current on the background. There are an image of the current Cameroonian president, as well the mention of the unique party UNCW, National Union Cameroonians of the West Region, who was formed by his predecessor. The presence of the portrait of the president portrait also point how photographic portraits are diverted to other media. This is here. It is common to see reproduction of portraits on fabrics offered for sale. I showed you with the previous images of in Adamawa that it was a common use to have images on fabrics. So we can also date this image between 1982 and 1985, cause of the political situation in Cameroon and the party UNCW was dissolved in 1985 after the attempt coup on April 84. Indeed, this image was certainly intended to be part of a family album. So, indeed, photo albums were a great success during the studio era because they allowed the family to the family history to be archived, and also to show how that one was part of modernity by anchoring one's descendant in this new era. These were part of the personal images that were also sent to friends, relatives that end up hanging on the walls or being used for invitations to baptisms or birth announcement. And with this image, we see how the photographic souvenir also acquire a double memory. On the one hand, it is the trace of the event, the birth. And on the other hand, it's the gift of a memory to remind that you receive the image of the baby, the child, the child. By this act, the parents of this child demonstrate a social position also and financial ease to the others. So we regularly presented to guests. It was about praising one's social status and above all archiving and telling one's story. This image is the first step in building the praise of this young child, I think so. One could almost see in this album piling up on the shelf of the house a reinvention of the tags generally attributed to the griot in Africa. Because in addition to the oral account, the image attests the veracity of events. So let's finish with this idea of photo souvenir by looking the next image, which is totally different because we spoke about individual image. Here we are going to speak about group, collect group image. So as we can see, this image is from 1978. It was certainly taken during the Labor Day. The men are wearing a t-shirt from Brasserie du Cameroon, and they are certainly colleagues. So the Brasserie du Cameroon was founded in 1948. And it's a leader in the manufacture of soda and beers in Cameroon. And also the Labor Day, the May 1st, is usual. It is usual to see parade in every part of the country, and companies regularly solicit employees for this occasion to do the parade. So, and this event was instituted in Cameroon in the Labor Day was instituted in Cameroon in 1973. So we are still in the genesis of this parade in Cameroon. The unemployment is also low, and a middle class is being built thanks to the employment opportunity in both administration and industry. So with this image, from Jacques Toussele, we could see that there's a play with the idea of advertising, and we can we could almost think that the photographer was playing an advertising role, and that it had already understood the importance of image in the communication and marketing action of multinational. So in my opinion, when I'm seeing this image, by representing their company with pride, these employees are likely to inspire confidence as much the economic solidity and the seriousness also of the employees as for the quality of its service. Moreover, this image take on its full meaning in the idea of communication tool, because in 1978 marks the 30th anniversary of Les Brasseries. So with this image, we can glimpse a double celebration of work as a fundamental human value in the development of Cameroon, which at that time held a sizable economic position in the region. So the framing of the image is wide, revealing part of the raw studio floor, and we can see that the backgrounds were multiple and personalized according to the needs of the clients. See if you look on your right and also on your left. It will be also interesting to know if each of these models received or bought a print, because it was not uncommon to meet and go to the photographer to freeze this moment. Studio photographer also sometimes went to school, offices, and factory to offer collective shots to groups of people to strengthen the feeling of belonging to the same community and sharing the same values. So with this image, with this image, we can get an idea of the effervescence of photo studio during this period. Indeed, photography has become an object that is easily exchanged between friends to remain present by substitution. Something that today we cannot do anymore. So thank you, and I hope this brief presentation will was interesting for you, and if you have any question.
Well, Yves, thank you so much for that fantastic presentation. That was really, it's really wonderful to hear you talk about these photos, because for me, I'm looking at these photos every day and you just sort of bring them to life in a way that is really, it's really, it's incredible, and it just sort of brings them into the contemporary in a really lovely way. You were running a little long, so I'm going to ask a question. This is, something that I keep thinking about when you talk about these photos. And you mentioned that we have this golden age of studio portraiture in Cameroon that ends in 1994. That we have this date, but obviously it does not go away entirely. So what does it look like today? What is studio portraiture like in Cameroon at this moment in time? If you could speak about that a little bit, I'd really love to hear about that. You're on mute still.
I think today what I'm seeing when I'm going in Cameroon, there's few studio photography that are trying to exist, trying to make money, but since the 90s, they don't have ability to make photo ID. So this part of the job is also stopped, and So many of them now are going more outside, and they restart this nomadic practice, because you can find them mostly in baptisms, wedding, funerals, because they have clients there who are able to buy the image, the photo, and there's many people, so there's many chance to find someone who is going to interest by image, by buying images. But we also have many small studio, mostly focusing on the fashion, or working more with advertising, because there's no activity anymore. We have also this our Android now, who are we have phones, and all these new tools doesn't help them to exist and to work in good conditions. So they have to find new solution every time to have jobs. So many are doing also videos. So they are photographer, but they are doing also video, because now when you are going to events, people are asking videos and photo, also film and photo. So they doing the both in during the events to maximize the possibility of having money.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Thank you both so much. I wish that we had more time, but we do have to wrap things up. Thank you so much, Yves, for offering your unique perspectives on those images in the show. That was so interesting to hear. And thanks, Erica, for popping in and handling some question at the end there. And thank you to everyone who joined us today. This program has been recorded, and it will be available immediately on our Facebook and in the coming days on our Instagram and on the Fowler's website. So you can revisit it and share as you wish. We hope that you'll join us again for our next program. We've got another Lunch and Learn on Monday. You can find details on the closing slide. In the meantime, have a great week. See you next time. Bye.